it's a rib injury, and we'll take him through, all the steps at practice and assess how he's doing and keep working it through that. We're hopeful he can play, but we'll also make sure to take every precautionary step and do it smartly for the player and the man. And so I want to make sure I gave you all the updates that I had. And so it's not going to be something that's going to knock him out for a long term. And so, like I said, we're going to list it as week to week. And like I said, hopefully we'll play this week and we'll take it every day of it all the way through. So glad to open up with you guys and get rolling.
Okay, go ahead, Nikki.
Are you able to say what exactly he is dealing with?
Rib injury. And so the injury just kind of fell awkwardly on the opening play. I think you'd asked me that last night, Nick. I want to make sure I got back to you on that as well. So it was the opening play. He was able to finish out that drive, but it was the best, call to wait it out. And like I said, we'll see where he is, going through the steps at practice this week, and we'll make a decision as we go. But literally, like, we're not going to miss one step of this. All the way through. It's really important to get it right, and we will.
And medical stuff aside, I know the doctors have their say in all this, but for you as a coach, what do you need to see from him this week to make you comfortable that he can?
Yeah, and I think he's such a unique player that I want to make sure he can be him fully in his own way. And the movements, the throwing, and all the stuff that would go with that, as you can imagine. So I know he'll do everything he can, but I'll trust my eyes and certainly know him well. So like I said, we'll take it every step of the way.
John Keim.
Dan, just kind of playing off that, is this a pain management thing? Is it more restrictive on his throwing? What will be the biggest challenge for him with this?
As you're going through it, like most times when there's like a core injury, John, it's more just, the movements and all that goes into throwing and playing the position. So for him, going through that whole process, will be an important one for him. So any of the time it's with the core, it's with the movements.
And then for decision making, you said you go with your eyes. How much will you also rely on him and where he's at? And do you almost have to temper some of that because you know how he'd want to be out there?
Yeah, that part we all know from all of us that know Jayden. Like, he is at his core a true competitor, and we wouldn't expect anything different than that. But we'll really trust, our eyes, the medical staff, and like I said, we're going to make sure, John, we assess this every day and make sure when he's able to be him fully in that space, then we'll let it rip. But we'll just take it, as we're going through the whole week. We got practice to assess and movements and going through it, and then each day we'll have a better update.
Ben?
So Dan, to some degree, this is why you guys go out and get a Marcus Mariota, somebody who has this experience. Does the fact that he has the same sort of, or not the same stuff, but like has that mobility, was that ultimately like a big factor to have somebody who has a similar style? I guess he came before Jayden, but you know what I mean? Like somebody who has a similar style to what you were looking at?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, Ben, on that. And I think what it also shows is, like, we take that part, really important. We hate that these, types of injuries happen, and, God forbid when they do, you want to make sure you're absolutely, ready to deliver in that space. And Marcus is that type of player. And as much as you don't want those injuries to happen at any position in the NFL, we know it does. And so for him to step into that space, it was an important win. Certainly not a great one with, players being injured, but it was an important one. And on the sideline, you can see the support that Marcus got, from his teammates. And I think that goes a long way of being ready and all the things that happen when no one's watching, the staying after practice, going through a 2-minute to get ready. And sure enough, it happened right before the half to go down the field on a 2-minute. He literally had done that on Friday, Ben, post practice with a bunch of guys and going through to get full speed reps. So it's funny how those things, come up and you're ready and you're able to deliver. So that's Marcus, being ready when called upon.
And I know this isn't necessarily a plug and play operation, but the fact that you guys were able to maintain the efficiency and that you've had throughout the year, what does that kind of say just about how the offense is running right now?
Yeah, I think it shows there's a lot of confidence in the plan of what we would do and how to feature the players of doing the things, that they do best. And so I wasn't surprised to see Marcus perform well. We've all seen it. What I thought was really strong, Ben, was this is a guy that missed a month, of being on IR at the start. And so for him to battle back from an injury and get back into the reps, that took work to do that. And so he got some playing time early in one of the games. Can't remember which one right now, but that was important to get going. And then this one to get in for almost the whole game. I think Jayden, left after the first drive. So that was a big deal.
Sam?
Will this situation prompt you guys to reconsider at all the role of design quarterback runs in the offense?
It would not. On this one, Sam, that Jayden ended up getting injured, it was honestly more like a scramble. There was a lead blocker outside, and he was, 30, 35 yards down the field. So, no, that's not the type of design run that we would move from.
Is the coaching point to him on that? Like, is it okay that he cut back in the middle of the field, or what is the coaching point, I guess, to him, if there is one at all?
Yeah, he was really trying to work off the safety at first. And so to cut across his face, he was trying to go score. And so as he was getting down the field, I thought from the design standpoint, it was good. And he just, kind of fell awkwardly on it. So it was not a function, Sam, in this particular case of, running in the A gap and, getting hit by a defensive tackle. It was a down the field run that, in a lot of ways would have felt like a scramble if you just saw the second half of the play, not the first half, if that makes sense.
David Aldridge?
Dan, I am assuming that part of your evaluation of Jayden this week will involve him trying out different types of pads and wraps to see what he's comfortable in terms of throwing motion and all of that.
Not as much, Dave, on the pad. He already has, a specific one. In this instance, it's really going to be more of the rotational part of things, and to see how that part would go and what it looks like to make sure he can have all the movements down. He's got a pretty secure padding. It seems smaller, but it's like where it protects over the ribs, like a lot of the quarterbacks have. It's protected strongly there.
I guess I was wondering if he would try a flak jacket on or anything, or if that would even be a help for him.
Not in this instance.
Okay.
The one that he has good protection. It was really more a function of, like kind of being torqued in a different way as opposed to an impactful play.
Okay.
Like an impact play, excuse me, not an impactful play.
Scott?
Hey, Dan, you guys are calling this a rib injury. Can you expand on that? I know some fans are worried that maybe the rib's broken, bruised. Can you kind of expand on that a little bit, Dan?
The best thing, Sam, I can say, Scott, excuse me, for the fans, this is not something that's a long-term issue, and that's why we listed him as week to week. And like I said, we're hopeful he'll play this weekend, but we're not going to miss one step, as it goes through it.
How's his demeanor today? Is he already like, I'm playing on Sunday, coach? Put me in, coach. Can you kind of explain that?
I think you can probably figure that one out on your own, Scott, from being around Jayden for one day. But yeah, he was doing great today. Same way last night, and but that's really how he's wired.
Thank you.
Candy?
Charlie, did you call on me? I'm just
Yep.
making sure.
Yep, that's you.
Hey,
Hi,
hey
Candy.
there, coach. Coaches Cliff, Tavita, and Coach Blau, what can you say about what they're building in the quarterback room right now?
I think Friday, Candy, was a really cool demonstration of that. So we finished our practice on Friday, and after that, they went over to get more 2-minute work in. And so it was Kaz and Mitch and Bryson and others, and they honestly went right down the field. So I think it speaks, one, to the importance of like getting ready, and two, it speaks to the importance of like development, and that we never stop onto that. And here, that's really a lifestyle for us, Candy. Like it's not affected by the result of a score or that. Like we're honestly trying to dig in to get better. And so for Cliff and Tavita and Dave to take the guys, go through a 2-minute, just, hey, these are the calls, to go through it at full speed, with some other receivers to get ready. I think that speaks to that group. No one really knew that was going on. Everybody else was, breaking down, going through, but that group had brought, 5 or 6 guys over here. Let's go through this again. Let's take another lap at this. And it was, for the benefit of Marcus, just in case this happens. And I think that speaks to readiness, and their connection together is really strong. It's nice to see Marcus and Jayden, both similar experiences coming up, older, younger, the coaches, Blau just being done. Tavita, kind of the one, bringing everyone together. So it's actually a really fun group to be around.
And I'm going to switch to the defense for my second question. A few weeks ago, you were sharing that you shared with the defense that they were in. So where do you think the defense in the unit is now?
You know what? I was pleased to see both on special teams and defensively tackling improving again. And that's such a big deal, Candy, because so much of the offense in the NFL is spread out and finding space. And so quite a few of the tackles that you saw, are space plays. And it wasn't just, hey, I got the sideline and I can use that as the 12th defender. But screens and bubbles and, plays that you can get space fast, and going to tackle in that spot was really a big deal. For us to get to +2 in a game to create 2, 3 is what that's the marker. If we can knock 3 out one way or another, I thought maybe we'd have a shot on one. There was one that came out on a fumble on a kickoff cover, and it went right back to the Carolina Panther guy. It added a couple more yards on the return, but I am pleased to see that mindset changing.
Thank you.
JP.
Hey, Dan, can we get an update on the Coleman injury also, please?
Yes. So Brandon is in the concussion protocol, and he'll work through that as we're going through that for this week.
And then just with the 2 injuries on top of a bunch of guys, kind of a smaller inactive list last week, are you getting to a point where roster moves have to be a consideration here more so than they were last week?
Meaning like that we didn't move people up?
Moving people up, or maybe even moving to IR, different players?
Nope, nothing on the consideration on that side of things. Nobody came through with an injury that got us jammed up in that way. So that was good. Normal injuries that come up in a game, but nothing that knocked us out. We didn't do any activations in this last game, so that was a good sign that I thought we were getting healthier to go. And then as we're getting through the process of this week, we'll see where we stand.
Cool. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Donna.
Hey, Coach.
Hi, Donna.
7 games into the season, where are you starting to see the development showing the most on this team?
Well, that's a good question. Off the field, I would say I'm really feeling, Donna, this team's connection for one another. And it was interesting here being alumni weekend last weekend. Doug spoke to the team on Saturday morning, and he was talking about the team that he was on and their connection, and after practice staying in the locker room and doing things together. And he saw that with this team. And I think they've fast-tracked some things where they were able off the field to connect more quickly. On the field, I've liked our play style. And you know me, I've said this for a while. It doesn't happen in short order to get this, but I do feel like these guys really want to play tough. They want to play physical, and they want to finish blocks, and they want to finish plays. And those are things that we have to do over and over again till it becomes an identity. But I do feel that, and it's coming. And now, can we take it another level up? Can we take it another level up? And if we continue to do that, then I think that's when it'll be where we're fully able to express ourselves and how we want to play. But on the field, that's the thing that I'm really seeing come together. And that makes me really proud to know that they are really going to fight for one another.
And the other question is on defense. As far as Johnny Newton, what did you see from him yesterday? And also Dante Fowler, you know him well, but
Yes.
I mean, he seemed like the last couple of weeks, he's really been making a lot of noise on the field.
Yeah, he's really made some impactful plays, and he was the one to really set it off last night, with the interception and the return. We were fortunate that Payne was running right down the sideline with him to be his escort into the end zone, because it was getting close as we were getting towards the end zone. But it was really cool to see Dante make that play. He made a 4th and 1 stop, and he's always had excellent instincts, Donna. And so falling back to find the screen, making a play on a short yardage play, that's quintessential Dante, where he's got instincts to know when to come inside, when to stay outside, and him, being healthy and able to really do his thing. I was really proud of him for the game yesterday. And we celebrated him in the locker room afterwards. Had a lot of fun with that.
David Harrison.
Hey, good afternoon, Coach. What
Dave.
would you say is Marcus Mariota's superpower?
I would say his ability to improvise. When he gets outside the pocket, there were some plays that looked like Austin Stadium out there on last night. There were some plays where he used his legs to extend plays, and there was also some ones like in that 2-minute drill to get outside the pocket, and he would really rip some in. So it could be 2 plays with him easily. The first play that would begin, and if he sees something and he feels the knack to get outside on a drop back play, he'll do that. And so that to me is it's his legs, that he really has speed and the acceleration outside of it. And in the shotgun, that's really where he feels the most comfortable. He's got a huge background of that, as you know. So that would be the superpower to me, the extension of plays.
And then defensively, you kind of already mentioned tackling being really clean yesterday. The Panthers had an explosive run, their second play of the game, and then didn't have an explosive run again until their 9th possession of the game. That's quite a wide berth. Is it just that tackling that got so much better that prevented that, or is there another piece of that that really impacted that ability?
Yeah, I think it was 2 things. I thought one, the guys and the staff did a good job of knowing their fits to go make their hits. And in Carolina, like, we've got a lot of respect for Hubbard, the run game. You heard me talk about that, the inside of their offensive guards, how strong they play. So that was going to be a big deal. And I thought the defensive tackles, Newton and Payne, sometimes that doesn't show up on the stat sheet when you're playing against a zone team where you might be part of a combination and you're taking on 2, but here's Luvu, here's Wagner, here's Chin able to run. And I thought that was a big factor in this game.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, we got time for 2 more. Let's go Wino and then Liam.
Danny, you guys played it really safe with Brian Robinson and the knee injury. Obviously, it's a case-by-case basis on every player, but is there a process that you and Adam, the coaching staff, go through of kind of balancing what's worth having a guy, whether it's Jayden or Brian, in the lineup for you every game versus sort of the long term for the rest of the season and beyond?
Yeah, number one, it's player driven to say it's always about them for the long term, for their health, for their career. So that's an easy one, Steve. It's about the player and making sure they can do their thing at full speed. And if they can't, like in the case with Brian a few weeks ago, we just said, you know what, it's not there, and we're not going to put you out there and not allow you to do your thing full speed. So it was the right call. Sometimes the player gets upset, but that's okay. In that instance, it was the more difficult right over the easier wrong to tell him, hey man, it's not happening. And as much as you want this game and this moment, like, we're always going to do what's best for you. And that in return is also best for the team. But yeah, that's an easy one.
Go ahead, Liam.
So, Coach, you talked about how Marcus Mariota's scrambling ability and his speed is really an X factor for him on the offense. But when you're talking to Cliff Kingsbury, how important is it to have a backup quarterback who has a similar skill set to what Jayden Daniels is able to do, so that you're not having to completely overhaul your offense when Jayden goes out?
Yeah, and I think Marcus might have even been the one that referenced it, Liam, that Jeff also has a lot of similar traits. So when we're in practice, you could see, oftentimes on the scout team, whether it was Marcus or Jeff, and they're running plays, we'll call it the same, just like we do on our own offense. So if a team, like for instance, when we were playing for Baltimore, they have some plays that we have. And so we would call it with Jeff, with Marcus, and I'm not going to call it a free rep, but it's a similar play. And every chance, Liam, that you can get to continue to work your skills as a quarterback, it's the hardest position there is. And so we find all these little margins, post-practice, pre-practice, during special teams, to keep working that. And so all 4 of those guys, between Jayden and Marcus and Jeff and Sam, man, they really put the work in. And you find these little margins, these little windows to work on a specific skill, and they all have their own specific work-ons. But it is really important because the system doesn't change. Now, if all of them were in, we wouldn't call it exactly the same way. If any of us had a playbook, we would feature it a little bit differently with each quarterback. So But by and large, it's mostly the same.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right. You guys have a good one, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.